everyone, welcome back to the Pole Strong podcast with me, your host, Becky Dunn. Today I am joined by Frances Ann AKA BodybyFran on Instagram. Fran is a pole strength and conditioning coach and she specialises in working with 40 plus polers. Fran has an extensive amount of knowledge and passion, and I hope you enjoy this podcast just as much as I did. Fran, thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
No, I'm really, really excited. I've seen your work. I think were you on the summit as well? Were you on, I can't remember what one it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of them I did. Yeah.
They were really good.
Yeah, those are always fun to do. It's great
so
to collaborate with people from all over the world, and it just spreads the word to a bigger audience when we can all come together and share.
Totally agree. So for those who don't know who you are, your background, I'll hand over to you for introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of like how you got to the line of work that you're in now, your background and stuff like that.
Yeah, I am Fran of Bodybyfran training. I became a fitness professional back in, I think, 1993-ish.
Wow.
Yeah,
a long time.
Yeah, I had two children back to back, 11 months apart, and I started exercising. I've always been a smaller person, and having two babies kind of changed my body in a way that I wasn't really accustomed to. So I started exercising, and then I eventually started teaching group fitness, and I just wanted to learn all that I could. I became a personal trainer, a strength and conditioning coach. I worked with Rutgers athletics for a while, Rutgers recreation, and had the opportunity to work with athletes in football and basketball.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
Really amazing, opportunities that I've had. I've worked with competitive bodybuilders as I got into that myself for a while. It's been a really wonderful journey, and I found pole as sort of an alternate exercise kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just fell in love with it. And of course, got injured because I really wasn't applying any of my knowledge to it. I just went in like, woohoo, I'm strong and yay, I can do all the things. And I wasn't doing anything right. And there wasn't instruction on what muscles to use, on how to do things right, and how different it was from traditional weight training or bodybuilding. So as I started teaching, I started developing my pole strong method of training. And that came from my sports strength and conditioning background, studying bodyweight athletes like gymnasts and people who do calisthenics. And I just developed this program, this methodology actually, that includes my 3T system. Targeted warm-ups, which I feel are vital to getting started with any kind of pole training, is getting the body prepared for the tricks that you are going to do that day. Trick-specific conditioning, or even flow-specific conditioning, because I think we sometimes forget that a flow or a choreo class is very demanding on the body as well. And then technique tips, and sharing those tips that I didn't get, that I did the game, right? Yeah, it really did. It was just mind-blowing to me to be able to put this all together, and that it wasn't really out there. Now, don't get me wrong. There have always been a few people out there who've been doing this, and we've got more and more now coming into it, and I'm so happy about that. But when I started about 11 years ago, there really wasn't much out there. It was, here, let's do this trick on Instagram that I saw, and let's try it.
But even now, I still think there's, it's still relatively new, isn't it? In terms of like the information that's coming out, like the more awareness around it, like there is more of us doing it, but still not a lot.
Yeah, and
still not a lot.
I believe that a lot of people think that it's a great form of exercise, which it is. It absolutely is, but it's not just dance. It's more athletic. Even if you are doing sensual movement, the demand on the shoulder area, even if you never invert, never go upside down, is so great. And I think more people need to understand what's happening to the body when you start pole dancing. It is a great form of exercise, but it's not like going in and going on a treadmill or doing a group fitness class. It's quite different than that.
Yeah. And I think everybody, if you enjoy pole, regardless if you're doing it for a hobby or what, once or twice a week, everybody has that intention to want to get better. And if you do have that intention, or again, it's natural. You want to progress in the hobby that you're doing and increase your strength. You have to be doing more, and like you say, you have to be aware of what's happening with the body, the demands. But going back to your knowledge and your technique tips, something that I love, and I think you'll be the same when you teach and stuff, being able to explain to a student in a level of detail that you can, because you understand how things are moving. So you can say, like, this is why this is uncomfortable, because this is the pressure that's coming here, and it's that level of knowledge that you can apply. That's just, that's some of the missing. That's what's missing, I think, with a lot of people.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. There's a gap in the knowledge of what's happening with a lot of instructors. Sometimes studios will just grab their better students and teach them how to teach moves without them really understanding. And that is one of the main reasons that I developed my strength and conditioning specialist for pole certification, to help instructors who don't have that fitness background, who aren't strength and conditioning specialists, who aren't trainers, who aren't fitness professionals, understand the demands of the body and how to notice. And we talk a lot about assessing our students. If they can't get a trick, is it because they're lacking coordination, muscle engagement, how to do something? Or is it a capacity issue? Are they not flexible enough, mobile enough? Are they not strong enough? So it's my goal to teach instructors to be able to look at their students and understand why a move maybe isn't clicking. Maybe they need different cueing. Maybe they need to step back and open up their hips a little more, or do a little shoulder opening. Or maybe they just need to build some general strength and spend some time on strength and conditioning before training that move.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like you say, the shoulders is the big one. I have everybody wants to get the handspring and Aisha and those big powerful moves. I understandably, who doesn't? As first time I saw a handspring, I was like, I want to do that immediately.
Yes.
It's like the dream move for everybody, and I get it. But I don't think people understand the demands, like you say, that goes through your shoulders. Like you need your rotator cuff to be strong. You need the stabilizing muscles to be strong, and not only that. And you'll know this from your background too, it's not just your shoulders and upper body that's working. You need your lower body to be working,
Right.
I say this all the time. I see students get to a certain point and they really struggle with let's say like a kick up into a handspring, but they can hold their Aisha, for example. But if you're not training your lower body, and your lower body can't engage properly, and you can't engage your glutes and your hamstrings and, generate that force that's required in some powerful moves, then you are really going to struggle.
Absolutely.
And it's like, but like I said, like we said, I think it's becoming more and more apparent. But it's still educating people. So when did you get into bodybuilding then? Because bodybuilding is such a demanding sport in itself. Like it's like requires so much. When did you get into that? Was that before pole?
Oh yeah, way before. In 1995, I think I saw my first women's fitness competition. I was like,
oh wow, so
do this. Yes.
So what year did you have children? Did you say
92 and 93?
Yeah, I thought you said that. So a couple of years after having children, straight into bodybuilding.
Straight in. I went. I'm one of those people that if I get something in my mind, I'm driven and I do it. So after my second daughter was born, I started exercising hardcore, and within a few months, I had my abs back, and as I said, I started teaching group fitness, and I discovered women's fitness competitions and decided I wanted to put some muscle on. So I went to a bodybuilding gym and joined. And then shortly after that, I think 1996 was my first competition. I placed fourth out of about 15 women. And Becky, I weighed 100 pounds. I didn't even really have to diet. I was just tiny. Muscular. So that was the start, and I really enjoyed it until I didn't, until there were competitors, as you know, with any sport, it gets more competitive. And there were a lot of young women who were using steroids, and they were coming from gymnastics backgrounds, and that combination is powerful. So I would compete normally about 107 pounds dieted and ripped. And these girls were my height and 125, 130 ripped. So yeah, so here's the chicken standing next to them. And, oh, look, I can do this cartwheel into a split, and they're doing round off back handspring back tuck, So
Wow. So this is because the last podcast I did was with a girl called Emily, and she's a personal trainer too, and she works with polars, and like you predominantly work with polars, and we'll get into your like what you do specifically with people, but I don't know if you look after people's nutrition and stuff like that with your clients.
I did venture. I've done pre-contest diets for probably 15 years. I did that, but it's a very different animal.
This is what I was going to say. So when you speak to a lot of the diet culture around fitness, especially here in the UK, I don't know if it's the same in America, but people will automatically go to that sort of chicken and rice bodybuilder style eating, but not understanding that they're eating, like bodybuilders have to eat that way because they're a physique based sport. And I actually come across a lot of clients that like are trying to diet and trying to mirror a bodybuilder style diet, because like even when I got into fitness 11 years ago, that was like where my head was at: chicken and rice, protein shakes, hardly any flavor, like that again mirroring that bodybuilder style diet, until you learn and understand that actually you don't need to eat like that unless you are training a specific way. Do you come across that? Again, I don't know if it's relevant, because I don't know if you have like if you deep dive on your clients' nutrition, but there's a lot that diet culture is really heavily linked to bodybuilding.
Yes, absolutely. We see it all the time with people. You can't eat fruit. It's too much sugar. What? Yeah. In the last few weeks of a pre-contest diet, you're not eating fruit because everything has to be monitored. That diet, that way of eating for bodybuilding is for one moment in time. So you're taking the body to this extreme, but people see that result that is so extreme and they go, I want that. And I don't know how many people, and even in the gym where I was training, would say, wow, you look great. Why don't you stay like this? And I would say, because I'm dying slowly inside. It's not maintainable. And I think that it's here in America too, that we have a perception that if you eat like a bodybuilder, then you're going to be able to look and perform that way. And that's just not the case. And if you take it back to women's fitness, some of the struggle that I saw was, you had to start using steroids to compete at that level and do a 2-minute high energy gymnastic based fitness routine that's nonstop when you're that depleted. Right?
Absolutely. And I've witnessed I knew a girl that went down the road of bodybuilder training, and she had to give up pole while she was bodybuilder training. Like, you can't do both. Like, if you are in on bodybuilding, you are absolutely in. But the diet and the like how strict and regimented that has to be, it has to be to a T. And if your diet, I hate using the word dieting because it should just be a lifestyle, and but if you are like watching what you're eating and stuff, it really doesn't have to be that bodybuilder chicken and rice, rice cake fish. Like,
it's too extreme. It's too extreme for the long term. You've got that. All right, I'm going 12 weeks, and there's an end place, and then you cycle back into eating the normal foods that are healthy and strong. Competitive bodybuilders have off seasons. They eat a lot and then diet it off, and then eat a lot again. And I think that's really this.
You have to be really careful, don't you, when you come out of your pre-comp or when you come out of your comp, because you like how you get back into that normal phase of eating, right? Like, because you've been so regimented, and then trying to introduce a normal routine back in, like it can be a lot, right?
Early on, I would binge on cookies and everything sugar the day after, and I would feel horrible. So you'd end up going back to sort of a modified pre-contest plan and sort of reverse diet out of it. I learned that the hard way. It's a lot of young women, older women too, end up with eating disorders from this, however, because I was fortunate that I just love food and I love the way a good, nutritious meal makes me feel. So I didn't have that issue with wanting to stay that lean. But a lot of people do, and they get caught up in that trap of keeping that diet. And it's just not good for their endocrine system, for their muscles, for anything, you know.
Well, their periods stop too, right? Some females' periods stop. Like it can be so damaging on the body. You really, we can sidetrack here because you have to be so careful. So anyway, how long have you actually been doing pole now for them?
A little over 11
years.
Did 12 years this fall.
So you started as a hobby. So when did you get into teaching, or like how did you come into becoming like what you're doing today?
I started teaching probably about a year and a half into my pole journey, as the studio needed somebody to teach a beginner class. And I said, well, I can do it. And I realized it was much, much harder than teaching a group fitness class. So, it was a big eye-opening thing for me.
It is actually difficult to teach a class. It's not as easy as you think it is.
Right. So, I had to put on my thinking cap and figure out how to do that. And that was part of the evolution into developing my methodology. My classes always had a lot of strength and conditioning to them. So they weren't as popular, as we know. People would come in late, so maybe they could miss that part.
Standard. We were all guilty of it at some point. I remember hating the conditioning when I was starting my pole journey, where now it's like absolutely crucial.
And when I was taking classes, I wasn't always a fan of the conditioning part myself, because to me it felt that it was random.
Yes.
Right. We were just doing random exercises that I do in the gym anyway. So why do I have to do more push-ups? Why do I have to do just crunches? I do that all the time. Give me something that's going to help me do the trick or the move or the combo that we're learning today. And so, again, that was part of my evolution, was experiencing that and being like, this just doesn't work. I don't want to do 10 minutes of just crunches. That's not, I can do that in the gym and on my own. My abs are strong.
Yeah. And it's having the ability to explain to a student, why we're doing this piece of conditioning.
Yes.
For example, oblique crunches. I love doing oblique crunches because, and being able to actually say, well, the obliques, and explain how they wrap around the body, how much we use them, and having that extra level of knowledge. And like you say, instead of just being do some tucks, right? You actually know what's working when we're doing a tuck. We're actually trying to strengthen the hip flexors as well as X, Y, Z. Instead of just being let's just do this for fun.
I just ran a challenge, and I added pole crunches in the challenge. And I really just explained to everyone how to get their transverse abdominis to engage and kind of make a hissing sound before you lift. Tilt the pelvis, engage the transverse. And there were so many people who were like, this changed the game. I was really just using my legs. Yes, you were. And a lot of people do, will overwork the hip flexors and wonder why they're not really getting stronger for their inverts. So it's those little things that instructors like you and I can share, and hopefully more instructors who take my certification or go out and learn about the body a little bit more can provide to their students, instead of just do these pull crunches because they'll make you stronger for inverts when there's no activation. Connection. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so important. So for you now, so what do you predominantly do now? So what's your everyday, what do you predominantly do within the pole industry?
Business wise?
So for me, I would say that I am my predominant day-to-day is an online coach supporting a strength and conditioning online coach for pole dancers. It predominantly is that what you do? But I also teach. I also have a studio that I manage and I teach. But predominantly my real day-to-day and what I love to do the most is online coaching and strength and conditioning and stuff like that. The helping poles. So what do you predominantly do now? Do you still teach in a studio? Do you have a home studio? Because I see you have you've got a home set up.
Yep. I have a studio here at home. I do not teach in person in the studio. I mean, I teach at events like PullCon or workshops when I travel, retreats, things like that. But primarily, I'm a strength and conditioning specialist, and I specialize in helping over 40 pole dancers because I am slightly over 40, 55.
You look fantastic. Like absolute goals and inspiration. Like if I hope I'm half as like good as what you are. Like you're such an inspiration. Honestly, it's so inspiring. And this is like for me, and like when I try and really push for people like to do more and cross train, like do it for longevity. Look how good you look for 55, by the way. Like, and like look at the way you're moving your body. Like it's you don't look like you're struggling. You know, like how like if you put a 55-year-old on the pole. Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Honestly, so inspirational.
It's a lifetime of fitness, of
Right?
a lifestyle, right? That leads to this. So I've just recently really switched my focus to guiding over 40 pole dancers, which I'm finding a lot of joy in because some people believe that it's over after a certain point, and we can get stronger and more flexible and still do things we love as we age. I'm also focusing now on, as I said before, instructors, teaching them how to be more cognizant of injury prevention and strength and conditioning. And I've also just started a mentorship program for instructors where we go a lot deeper into teaching, because I am also a professional educator. I worked teaching high school and was an adjunct professor for 15 years. So education is my background.
In what subject?
I taught sciences, mostly AP biology. In college, I taught forensic chemistry. I taught forensic science, biotechnology, anatomy and physiology. So the sciences. I'm a little nerdy. So,
well, everybody normally is who like deep dives on like this level of personal like strength and conditioning, the muscles. You have to be a little bit nerdy with it. Okay, cool. So that makes sense. So when did you decide to really, because I was having a look at what you offer and what you do, and I saw that you did your mentorship program that's really like say for instructors. So when did you start putting that together? What does that, for anyone that's maybe listening thinking, no, I could benefit from that, like what does that involve? What tell us a little bit more about that.
This first round of the mentorship, it's a 5-month program where we meet. I do individual consultations with each participant, and we meet twice a month talking about certain topics that relate to teaching, as well as running a business, whether it's an in-person brick and mortar studio or getting into online business. I have great guest coaches coming to help me. This round, we have Heidi Coker, Colleen Jolly, and Tanya Christopher coming to talk about different aspects of teaching and of pole business. I opened it up this round primarily to those who were certified in PSCS level 1 with me. I will be opening up again in 2024 to everyone, and the PSCS level 1 certification will be included in the mentorship. Right now, the level 2 is included. So for those that took level 1, we'll be doing that upper level strength and conditioning, working with bands, developing strength and conditioning classes, full classes in that level 2 program. So I am going to open it up. If anyone's listening and you're interested, I'll be sharing that early in 2024. We're doing a great traincation together. Everybody's coming to Charleston, and we're going to spend 2 days together in person. So, you know, when you're in the room with other like-minded people, there's so much growth that can happen.
So inspirational.
So excited about that. It's really becoming a passion of mine to teach teachers.
I can see why. I love them. I had two in. When I only opened my studio a couple of years ago, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to do this by myself. I had one instructor, but I knew as I grew, I would need more. And being able to recognize and identify those people that are not only going to represent your brand, but also that are going to do a good job. But I absolutely love nurturing them through their instructor program, because for me, I'm really big as well, and you'll be the same, I know, because of what you're providing people. The instructor qualification isn't enough.
No. No,
It's,
absolutely not.
I mean, like you can get it done, and like you'll learn the basis of teaching pole, and like it's good for a basic understanding, but it's not in depth enough for really.
Yeah, it is really important to be able to break down moves and to know how to sequence moves. Right.
Yeah, and also
but we need to understand the foundation of strength and mobility required as well, which is touched upon in a lot of certifications, but mine actually takes a deep dive into that, where we have exercises where we're assessing. Here's a student that comes in like this. You suspect X, Y, Z. Explain what exercises you would do, how you would recommend to this student. So there's a lot of assessment and application that we do in the certification that I think is not present in some of the other ones.
Yeah, and it's not to say that what qualifications aren't worthwhile. It's that continuous, it's that CPD, isn't it? Continuous personal development. But not only that, like you say, it's for me, it's the actual teaching part that's missing, like from actually qualifications, like you to be able to assess, like you say, assess a room. And be able to identify when somebody's not quite getting a move, and like you say, there's different reasons. Like, are they not getting it because of your instruction? Are they not getting it because their mobility isn't quite where it needs to be, or their flexibility, or maybe their strength? What can you do to test? Like, is their range of motion where it needs to be before you even try and do this move? Like, it's really cool what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of instructors don't realize as well that sometimes people aren't getting it because they can't hear. As an older polar myself, if music is too loud in a class now, I mean, and it didn't bother me when I started 11 years ago, but now I can't understand what's being said, and I'm really distracted by the loud music. So there's a lot of nuance to teaching that sometimes younger instructors don't understand. I just did a webinar for a group of studios out in California on training older polars. What are the considerations for our pre and post menopausal polars? What do we need to think about with them? What kind of language should we use with them? And that's another thing too. Wow, I want to look like you when I'm your age. And sometimes we don't. And I said that in my 20s to people because I didn't know. So just looking at being really inclusive for everyone, that inclusivity and our verbiage is not just being inclusive for pronouns and those kind of things, but to everyone, young, old, whether you're a larger boned or a tiny person, and just understanding the differences in everyone as a teacher. And that's why it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, teaching academics, I was fortunate to teach upper level, AP level students. Right? It's a very different way of teaching when you have students that are not very strong in the sciences and they come in and they have to learn something. You've got to change the way you present the information, correct?
Yeah.
So it's got to be that way that you can assess a room and know how to present the information, not only physically, but emotionally and mentally and, all of that as well.
Yeah, and to be able, you'll always have your go-to way of teaching a certain thing, like an invert, you'll always have your key points, but it is exactly that. It's recognizing that maybe if a student isn't getting it, then it's not always them. You need to be able to change your verbal cues, or like there's sometimes it's like you see it, don't you? When you teach a move and you give a cue and it clicks with somebody, and you're like, okay, right, so that was what was missing for them, for that individual. I think it's the same for it's very similar for students that have like ADHD. Like I've had students that have had ADHD and they struggle with music. They struggle with verbal cues, even social cues, it's being aware of all of that. Like, again, you're not taught this type of stuff when you're an instructor, and being put into that environment where you've got to be able to manage that room or, deal with those emotions. Like, it is a lot.
Yeah. And sometimes we talk at people and not everybody can process that information, verbal information. They need to see or they need to actually do. We have those people in class that you're showing a move and they're doing it with you. And you're like, no, let them do it with you, because that's the way they process it. If they follow, right? I'm kind of like that. I want to follow and sort of mock it out when somebody else is doing it. And I think some instructors do tend to get a little annoyed by that. Not yet, I'm showing the move. But everybody learns differently, and you really hit on that depending on, how their brain works. ADHD, you're going to lose focus very easily. How do we get them to come in and be present and not get hurt because they missed something? Right. I have always recommended to my academic students, if you are not understanding the lesson and something's not clicking, go on to Khan Academy and watch a lecture, because that teacher may say something that makes it click. So I'd always encourage people, try other people, try other classes. Listen, watch tutorials and see if there's something that makes it click for you, and then share it with me, because that improves my repertoire of cueing and ways of getting a movement across.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. I was going to ask, there was something you said and I was going to ask a question on it. It was something to do with I can't even remember, it's completely gone. But I was like, I was just thinking, I was like, when you I almost like sticky noted that in my head. I was like, I'm going to ask about that. But so how long have you been doing this program for now then, the instructor program?
We did the first PSCS virtual certification in January, and I have done 5 of them since then, one of them live at PolCon, which was amazing. Wow. The live experience is just fabulous. I have a master trainer that has come on with me. She was one of my first to be certified, and she'll be running workshops in her area, live workshops. So it's a little more lucrative for the studio to not have to ship me in when they have someone closer by to do that.
Yeah, definitely. So have you got particular governing bodies that you've got involved in this? Like how did you get started with this?
My course is recognized by ACE, the American Council on Exercise, and has continuing education credits for that.
Wow, that's so cool.
Did not go through any pole organizations, because this is strength and conditioning based. This is fitness based. Yeah. I'm not teaching pole tricks. I'm teaching instructors how to recognize gaps in strength, mobility, cardiovascular, muscular conditioning.
Yeah, absolutely. So then do you work with anybody on like a one-to-one with their strength and conditioning in particular, or are you more focused on the course and stuff like that? Do you take on clients one-to-one?
I do very limited one-on-one. I have a couple of clients that I train regularly, but my focus is really programming. Right now, I've opened up my signature program, Pole Body Bootcamp, which is an 8-week strength and conditioning group coaching program for 40 plus polers. So we will be going through 8 weeks of targeted strength and conditioning workouts. I developed some really fun workouts, like the Cupid Shuffle is all for training Cupids in leg hangs.
Okay.
Push It Real Good is for all push moves, like handspring, springs, split grip, anything like that. Upside down for inverting. It's a lot of fun, and I really enjoy bringing that programming to people. And this round, we're focusing on 40 plus, so all of our coaching calls will be talking about those issues that we tend to face as older polers: time constraints, energy levels, especially in perimenopause, eating well. There's a lot of older women, people in general don't, but a lot of older women are gaining weight and blaming menopause and not eating enough.
Oh my God, tell me about it. Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about all of that.
That was actually what I was going to say. So in the next couple of weeks, I teed this up back in like maybe June. So it's been a long time in the making, with a menopause expert to bring somebody onto the podcast to speak about like pre-post menopause. Because I've got a couple of clients that are menopausal and like even going through it at a really young age, like early 40s, and like almost struggling to accept that they're going through it. And like, I think even as an instructor, so take the online coaching side of it aside, like as a pole instructor and even as a student, I think it's incredibly beneficial to be able to recognize, like, is the person you're sharing a pole with, you know, going through any of these changes or symptoms, or like, what are those symptoms? Even more so for an instructor, like, what does that look like? Because, you know, a lot of people don't know. And I teach a lot of women over 40. You know, but could you truly recognize that someone's going through that? Like, probably not. So it's having
Nobody
someone
talks about it. It's very taboo. People don't feel comfortable. And there have been times I've been in pole class and I've just stopped and like, I'm having hot flash, and I will slip right off the pole right now because I am wet and I need to stop and dry off. And people would laugh and kind of get a little weird about it, but it's true, and it happens.
But they need to know, like, I think it's really, really cool that you've like moved over to socializing with 40 plus, because it's amazing how many women that, like, even I do consultations with were over 40. Like a lot of women are seeking help as they sort of get into their 40s. I've noticed, because they're realizing, like you say, not eating enough, you know, like gaining weight, stuff like that. But yeah, even in a pole thing, it's just not spoken about enough, like you say. So it's really, again, just bringing education and awareness to that, really.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's challenging for younger instructors to address these issues because you may get resistance from the older folks who don't feel comfortable with a 20-year-old saying, "Oh, are you in perimenopause? Let me teach you," right? And it doesn't mean that you're not knowledgeable enough, or that person is not knowledgeable enough. It just might not hit well. So I think for people that are not comfortable with that, having someone older guide them through it. I'm postmenopausal, and I'm proud to say it. But I've been there, and I can help people going through it and understand that you're gonna feel crazy for a while, and your body's gonna be foreign, but you can still move and enjoy and live and eat and drink and be happy.
That's amazing.
And it'll pass, and you won't shrivel up and die. You'll be vibrant and wonderful on the other side as well.
I think it's really important, like, even if it's not like that example that you gave was perfect. Like, if you had someone that was having a hot flash in your class, not saying like, oh, is this the situation, like, or call it out, right? Just mainly being able to, even if it's silent, you recognize yourself and you say, you know what, you take a minute, like, cool down, take a minute, and then get back on when you're ready. And how you approach that particular student, instead of maybe like, right, time to get back on the pole, or like, go again, you know,
Right.
do you know what I mean? Like, being able to recognize that actually maybe they're going through something, giving them extra time, how you approach them, how you, like, you know, it's just like you say, it's not spoken about enough, and it's really, really important, because you know what's crazy is that all of us women are going to go through it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
And
just
then,
like puberty. It's the other end of puberty, right? And puberty is celebrated. Menopause is not.
No.
It's not talked about. It's kind of taboo, and women feel like that's the end, but it's really not. It's really the beginning of a new phase.
Absolutely, a great mindset on it, like outlook on it, but also like keep your body healthy, and it will like, you know, you keep yourself fit, look after yourself, drink well, like in terms of water, eat well, you know, you can manage it.
Absolutely.
You can manage it. So how, like, where for you is it going to go next then? So you've already got a master trainer on, that's amazing. Like, would you like, are you planning on expanding it further? Like, what does that look like for you? It sounds like it sounds like it's growing. There's a lot of interest.
Yeah, it is growing. I suppose I would say the next step is really getting the level 2 certification started. That's going to be in October. So I have a few people in that already. And then expanding the Teachers Toolkit mentorships program. Also adding more live events to my schedule. I really love doing those. So there'll be PoleCon next year. There'll be, I don't know if you know Stacy Shapiro. She's a strength and conditioning and nutritionist for pole dancers too. And she and I ran a retreat in San Diego last year. We're planning our next one for April again of 2024, bringing strength and conditioning, nutrition, all of it, just all of the information that people
you
don't
need.
get into a live event so that people can get together with other folks that have the same ideologies and want to achieve the same things and do that in person. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to most, is really just teaching instructors and presenting live events to people.
That's amazing. So with your S&C then in particular, because you said about your 8-week program that you're running at the moment, and I know you like to go very trick specific, so it's not going to be the easiest question to answer, but for you, do you have like a couple of pieces of equipment or exercises that like are your absolute go-to that you really, really enjoy building into people's programs, like off the pole equipment? Is there anything that you encourage?
Absolutely.
You encourage people to use?
I have in my warm-ups, I have my 3 staples conditioning exercises that I think everyone should do. And they are block lifts, so a yoga block. It's really just, pushing and working with the serratus in a plank position. Serratus saws, so just on a mat on all fours, sawing with the arm. And pullovers, so dumbbell pullovers or down dog pullovers. So my equipment would be a mat, a light dumbbell, and yoga blocks. Those are my staple equipment, and those are the 3 exercises that I highly recommend to get everyone sort of into their pecs, lats, and serratus, and understanding how important those muscles are. That was key for me to stop injuring my shoulders, because everything I did early on was shoulder and trap heavy. And I had no idea that the serratus was for more than just aesthetically showing in your bathing suit as little fingers when you're a bodybuilder.
Right. Yeah. So do you write much off the pole like gym programs, or are you predominantly really sort of like pole based in terms of like those exercises that you gave, for example, would be like pre getting on the pole, warming up the body for pole. So do you do anything that runs alongside pole in terms of like off the pole training, or do you predominantly do just like work that's as you're warming up, making sure that the conditioning whilst in your lessons and stuff are like reflective of what you're going to do?
Pole Body Bootcamp has both on and off the pole exercises. We use dumbbells, we use resistance bands, blocks, mats, foam rollers, everything. I also have weight training for pole dancers, which is a simple 3-day-a-week program, upper body, lower body, and total body, that just hits the pecs, the lats, the deltoids, the quads and hamstrings, the glutes, just everything, for those who don't weight train and want to start with just a set of dumbbells. So that is a nice companion to pole strength and conditioning as well. I developed boot camp to have all of those things together so that people can see what it's like to add weights into the pole work as well, and to feel how much faster the strength builds when you're doing a little bit off the pole as well.
Yeah, definitely. And also just for like your muscle imbalances and stabilization, and like being able to hit those muscles that you can't hit in pole. Right. You can't just keep burning out a muscle over and over again and hope that you're going to increase strength. Absolutely. And the same goes for that nutrition part. You can't be training a crazy amount and not fueling the body, or eating enough and then wondering why again you're not seeing results. I've had so many clients in that situation where they're just training a crazy amount and then not fueling their body. Are you quite big on like encouraging your sort of like student clients on rest days? How do you
oh, absolutely.
I know. I knew actually, by the way.
I love my rest days. Boot camp actually has a rest and recovery every 3 weeks in it. And it includes like foam roller work and light passive stretching and light yoga, and encourages no pole training for that downtime. So we're going really hard for 3 weeks, and then we're decompressing, resting, and resetting. So it's rest and recovery week. I'm big on that, and I post about rest all the time. I mean, this week I already had 2 rest days in my training, and it's only Wednesday. I just listen to my body. When I need it, I need it. And, sometimes I'll go really hard and I'll be in the gym lifting weights, and then I'll be doing handstands and back bends, and I'll come home and do a little bit of pole. And then I might need 2 days after that of just maybe foam rolling and light stretching, just because I've done too much. But it's become over the years so intuitive to me, but it's not for everyone.
No, but I do. The biggest takeaway from that is just listening to your body. Like I've got a client that she likes to train in the evening, and she likes to train for like 2 hours at a time, but mainly because she thinks that she needs to train for that long, not because of the energy that she has. It's because like 2 hours is like what she feels like is needed, and then would really struggle because she's got a young baby that sometimes she would get to 9 o'clock and be really tired and force herself through these workouts. And I'm like, like it's okay to take a rest, and again, like you say, like listening to your body, like is it really worth going to pole for the evening if you're absolutely shattered and your body's sore and you're hurting? Like you're not going to gain anything out of it, are you?
Yeah, not at all. Sorry about that. My thing dinged.
Okay. But again, it's that education around it, right? It's that education.
Yeah. And we see a lot of young mothers like that they have to get, but then I don't have time, so I don't do anything. And when my babies were little, I would, if I was rocking one of them and preparing food, I'd be squatting in the kitchen and do like 10 squats and then go and do something else. And just try to get something in when I could, because it was better than nothing. And a lot of times we're all or nothing with our training. If I can't get that 2 hours in, I'm not going to do anything at all. 10 minutes. Maybe you just do a warm up and you just got some blood flowing. Why not? Maybe you just did some push-ups and some V-ups and that was your workout, but you did something and you got it done while maybe the baby was playing with a toy on the floor, and you can use your child as weight to play around with and then make that a connection. My kids grew up with exercise because that's what I did. And, at some points when I was teaching classes, they'd be with me and they'd be on stage with me doing crunches, come on, let's do 10 more little ones,
That's adorable. And just out of a complete side note now, because I don't know if you've seen on Instagram, I'm pregnant, so I'm really excited to go. Thank you. I'm really excited to go through that and be able to coach people on that postpartum side of things, and also just know how that feels as well to have young children and try and juggle everything. But like me and my husband are like, obviously I'm really into fitness. My husband's exactly the same. I've been a sponge around my husband. Fitness and discipline is a huge part of our life, exactly the same as you. Like it's years. It will never ever not be a part of our life, and it's something that we want to make sure our child has. Like it will be a part of our child's life. There's absolutely no sort of discussion around that. Like he'll either be at the studio here with me, or my husband does jiu-jitsu and he goes to the gym, and like our baby will be around that environment all the way through. So your children now, have they grown up to be into fitness? Are they yeah. So what do they both do now?
My youngest is a CrossFit athlete, and my oldest loves running and lifting, and they both love to cook. They love to make healthy meals. They just are totally into a healthy lifestyle, and it's one of my proudest achievements.
I can imagine. Like to be able to bring up that level of discipline, and just for it to become part of their lifestyle too. It's not even necessarily discipline. It's just like wanting, I want my child to see me taking care of myself.
Absolutely.
And I say this a lot to my older clients too, not necessarily even older clients, maybe just clients that have children. Like, if you put yourself first, it's like it's so important for your child to see that as well, right?
Yeah, I went to college and got my degree in my 30s as a single parent, and we would do homework together, and they would see me studying, and so it was okay, study time. We're all going to get our books out, and they were very good in school because they had that modeling that I wasn't going to let anything get in the way of the studying that I needed to do to get my degree and to move on. And they both got advanced degrees. One is in marketing and the other is in accounting. And they're successful professional women in their 30s. And
that's brilliant.
It's amazing, but I think we need to understand how important modeling is for our children, and not just telling, but showing, because they watch everything that you do. And if you say one thing and do another, it's confusing. But if you're straightforward, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I represent and my passion, they see that. They absorb it.
I'm really excited for that. You know, like I can rig a baby bouncer here. I can create a little crash, you know, like, but I really want to be like, and it's really easy for me to say this because obviously it's not happening right now, and you know, it'll be different when the baby's here. But I really want a baby carrier so that I can still, like you say, I could still do squats, or you know, even move around the pole with them attached to me, you know. It has to be such a big part of their life. Like it's such a big part of ours, and it's just really cool to hear that it carries through, because that's exactly what I would want to.
It does.
That passion and drive, and yeah. Oh, that's great. So are you going to run any more? So is your 8-week course running at the moment?
It starts September 5th, and we are enrolling now, and we've got a great group of people all ready to go and get started, and I'm super excited to bring more people in. I love to invite my old boot camp recruits, the OGs, the alumni, to participate in all the coaching calls and to join back in, because they get to keep the programming forever, and they can pick and choose the workouts they want to do or the exercises. But it's fun to all come together and start training again and sharing. And I forgot how fun that exercise is, or how not fun that exercise is, what that workout is like. Yeah.
So how can people enroll in that then? So if anyone's listening and thinking, I want a piece of that, or is it closed?
It's open now.
Okay.
Depending on when you air this, it'll be open till September 4th, and it is www.bodybyfrantraining.com. And once you get there, there will be a pop-up that shows up and says, join Full Body Bootcamp. And you can just there and enroll.
At the end of it, so it's really focused on S&C, and like, is this the plan that really like divides up the areas in terms of your push, your invest? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And all they need.
There's a Secrets to Success training calendar that tells you when to do each workout. They're not live, they're pre-recorded so that people can fit them into their own schedule. And so it advises when to do what, in what order, so that we're not overtraining. And then we all come together in our group chats, and we talk about things, and we go over some of the exercises, and we talk about some of our successes, some of our struggles, how we can work through things. Timing is always a big issue. I don't have time. So we talk about how to make time for training and where to find those spaces. And that if you can do 10 minutes, it's better than not doing your workout at all, kind of a thing.
So do you get a lot of people, so with time, what's your advice on that? Because there's actually a question that I get asked a lot. And actually one that I've been asked a lot recently is like, a lot around motivation. You know, a lot of people think motivation exists in terms of like being able to rely on it for a long period of time, and my God, it doesn't. And the sooner you realize that, the better. It really is about like discipline and managing that, and also managing your time, right? So that, and I've been saying recently, like if you want to do something, if you decide not to, it's only you that's decided not to do that. You know, if you listen to that little niggle in your head that says, let's just sit on the sofa. Let's just not work out tonight. You know, you're only letting yourself down. But how do you? What's your advice around time and time management for anybody struggling with, you know, trying to find the time to work out?
Well, first, as I always say, what you said, motivation is a myth. It's consistency, discipline, and creating habits, and that only starts if you can schedule things into your day. Schedule your workouts, pencil them into your day. And if you get home and you've got it scheduled for 8:30 and you're going to do a half an hour and you're tired, my advice is always tell yourself to do 7 minutes. It's the 7-minute rule. If after 7 minutes you start warming up and moving and you still feel like crap and you don't want to work out, go sit on the couch. But 9 times out of 10, that adrenaline will start going and you'll want to do your workout. So and that's just a tool to create the habit and the consistency. If people don't want to and they allow that negative comment to take over and they sit on the couch, like you said, they're only hurting themselves. But it's an excuse because I went to school full time and worked 3 different jobs and had 2 children and still managed to get my own workouts in. You can do it. It's not easy. It sucks sometimes, but
make time.
Yeah, it's about priority. If fitness isn't a priority and getting stronger isn't a priority, there's no motivational speech in the world that's going to help you do it. It just has to be a priority.
I love the saying, and there's 2 things I'm going to add here. So I love the saying that is if you don't make time for your well-being, you'll be forced to make time for your recovery.
Absolutely.
You just will be like there is, and you felt it too. Did you say that you were injured at some point? Were you injured? Yeah. Once you're injured and you realize how much that hinders you, it's not. That's probably one of the biggest things that drives me actually. Like I don't want to be injured because I want to be doing this for the long term. Like I want to be polling in my 70s. Like I really, truly do. But also I'm really excited to come out the other side of like having a baby and getting back into the swing of fitness and stuff to show that it can be done. And it's how, like someone said once, if you were to break down your day every single hour, I guarantee I would be able to find half an hour of your time. If you really broke your day down hour by hour, like what you were doing.
We've all got the same 24 hours and we're all busy. Especially here in America, we are the hustle, go, go, go. But Americans like to make excuses. I can't because.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I have so much on my plate. I'm so busy. And it's self-driven busy, right? Instead of I have to drive the kids here today. Could you possibly share the driving responsibility with another parent and then free up that hour for yourself one day a week? Maybe. Yeah. It's just, again, it's priorities. And if you're not willing to do that, then that's fine. And of course, sometimes we don't have that option. But like you said, if you break it down, there's 30 minutes somewhere. There's 15 minutes somewhere. There's something. You can at least get out and take a walk and clear your head. If nothing else.
Walking is huge. Walking alone is like so beneficial.
Yeah.
Like you can change your body composition alone just by walking, providing that you walk the right amount. But my God, you're totally right. Like even just doing it for your own mental well-being more than anything, like making that time for you for mental clarity, just being in a good headspace.
Yeah, and that tends to build. If you can find 15 minutes 3 times a week to walk, you begin to find more time for yourself because you're understanding how beneficial it is. Yeah. Even just to take those 15 minutes a couple times a week.
Yeah, for you. So, just to finish off then, so what would your advice be for anyone who is, maybe starting pole, both under 40 and over 40 as well? So actually, let's start with the over 40s because that's where you specialize now. Anyone maybe looking to get into pole or just because I've had them come in and try it, and I'm like, huge kudos to them because it must be. I remember feeling scared to start a pole lesson when I was 17, 18. Shit, really shitting going into a class. So to do that over the age of 40 into a young environment too, I just think it's so brave and it's amazing. So yeah, anyone sort of starting pole over the age of 40, what would your advice be?
Number 1, you're not too old. Just understand that you're never too old to start something new. Number 2, don't compare yourself to the 25-year-olds. We can never be 25 again. We were 25 and it was great. But you've got to respect the body that you're in. And then number 3, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some love and support. It's okay to learn slower. It's okay to not be as flexible or as strong. It's okay to not progress in the same way as the younger people do. Do you and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I think just adding on that, once you start to realize what you enjoy the most out of pole, I say this all the time, you can never be good at all of it. You're never going to be the most flexible and the most strongest. Maybe hills is for you, maybe it's not for you, maybe the dynamic stuff's for you, maybe it's not, maybe you just like to do some flowy dancey bits. Once you find what you truly enjoy in pole, and it's important to train all of it with aims from time to time, but really, really really find what you enjoy most out of your sessions, I think, and like you then start to enjoy it a lot more when you really enjoy doing the stuff that you enjoy the most in pole. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And that goes for all ages. When you step into the studio, don't put expectations on yourself. Go and find what you love. You don't have to do a specific trick to be a pole dancer. You don't even have to lift your feet off the floor. How many beautiful pole dancers just flow around and, low flow and dance and roll on the floor, and, find what brings you joy and be okay in that movement. Maybe it's big tricks, maybe it's not, but there's no end result.
No.
Just a journey and a practice.
Because it never, like I say this to beginner students too. It's one of my biggest things that I try and reiterate to them. Like, it never stops. So don't feel like you're gonna need a goal, because it doesn't matter what level you get to. From beginner all the way to elite, advanced, professional. You'll do a trick, and you'll always think that you can either do it better, or there's something else to add on to it, or you'll always see something that is like, you're like, oh, I wish I could do that. Like, I don't think there's, and that you will get some crazy people that can just do everything. Those people that you just, who we're talking about, the people that like are really strong, really bendy, can do everything. But it doesn't.
The unicorns of pole.
The unicorns, yeah, exactly. But it like you say, just enjoy the journey, and look after your body along the way. Because if you do truly love this sport and want to do it for the long term, doing this off the pole conditioning, working with a specialist is going to hugely pay off and benefit you, right?
Yeah, investing in an instructor or a coach is really important. I am constantly learning and growing. I've got a handstand coach. I've got a contortion coach. I mean, it's just things that I love. Have people teach me because it's valuable to me.
Yeah,
so if you
absolutely.
It does cost if you can put your pennies away and invest in someone to help you reach your goals or just to keep you on track. That's always a great idea.
But you're only investing in you, right?
Yeah.
The investment's only coming back to you. So, so important.
Yeah.
Well, Fran, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you making the time. I know with the time difference and everything.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No,
it's been a lot of fun chatting with you.